Welcome back. This is the second lesson recording for IM2, September 29th, 2020. So where we left was to recognize congruent triangles level 2. We're going to bring it up a notch and we're going to look at some more complicated shapes. So if you are given this shape, what are we told? We're told that this side and this side is congruent. This side and this side is congruent. Okay, are we given anything else? Well, there's a third side, isn't there? So this is a shared side. We can almost even, right now they're fused together, but we can separate this. But they used to be, this side and this side used to be shared. And that means by definition, they have to be congruent. Okay? So this triangle is congruent by SSS. We have first side, second side, third side. So by SSS. What about this? What information are we given? Well, first thing we're given is that we have this side length mx of the left triangle having the measure of 6 units, and then second side xz has the measure of 6 units on the right triangle. And so 6 unit means that they are congruent. So mx and xz, they are congruent sides of the triangle. Are we given anything else? Well, we're told that this line NM is parallel to zy. That's what this arrow tells me. If two lines are parallel, what else can we decide? We can say, we can look for the alternate interior angles because they are congruent. Okay, so where are my alternate interior angles? To do that, I'm going to extend my two parallel lines, and here is my first alternate interior angle. Remember, alternate interior angles form that z, and the inside the z are the two angles that are congruent. So the two red angles are congruent. Do we have anything else? Well, we have another pair of alternate interior angles. So in this case, this is the other z pair. So angle M and angle Z are congruent, which means we have angle congruent, another angle congruent, and then finally a third side that is congruent. So angle, side. So we can say that two triangles are congruent by AAS, and you do need to match up the letters. M corresponds to Z. See, they are the green angles, and the N matches up with Y because they are the red angles. But you could have also looked at it a different way. Okay, so before we said angle, side, but is there something else we could have used? Well, you could have used the vertical angles, couldn't you? So, and then we could also still use one of the alternate interior angles. So in this case, you have alternate interior angle, vertical angle, and then side. So angle, side. This is going to be angle, side congruence. Or you could have used the other alternate interior angle, so angle M. So in this case, you have alternate interior angle, then side that is congruent, then followed by the vertical angles that are congruent. So it's going to be side, angle, side. Angle, side, angle. Okay, so depending on which angle you are using, you will be getting a different congruence theorem. All right, so when you are looking for congruent triangles in a more complicated shapes, you should be looking for shared side being congruent. You should also be looking for vertical angles are always congruent, and then finally you look for parallel lines because they're going to give your alternate interior angles to be congruent. So right now you are going to go on to card 13, 14, 15, 16. And as you do, you should know that you should be looking for HL congruence, AAS congruence, ASA congruence, SSS congruence, or SAS congruence, and which are not congruent. And you'll find that not all of them have cards that are matching. Some are not going to have any at all, while some are going to have multiple. And likewise for card 14, look for this, and again you're going to have different number of cards that are matching. Okay, and you should be coming to see me if you are at all struggling. Alright, so up till now, how can we use the congruent triangles? So if you know that these two triangles are congruent, if you are told that triangle NOP is congruent to triangle TSU, NOP is congruent to TSU, always good idea to sort of follow along with your fingers and your eyes. And just then, what can you tell us? Well, if you're told that these are congruent triangles, and then corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. That's the CPCTC, which you should have learned last year, which tells us, okay, so looking at this, angle N corresponds to angle T. Angle N is 36 degrees. Angle T has to be 36 degrees. Okay, angle O corresponds to angle S. Angle O corresponds to angle S. So if angle O is 80 degrees, angle S has to be 80 degrees. And angle P corresponds to angle U. So if angle P is 64 degrees, then angle U has to be 64 degrees in measure. Likewise, this side, OP is 32. OP is 32, so it's the last two letters. SU this time is 32. SU is going to be 32 in length. NP, where is NP? Is 55. So NP, TU is going to be 55. TU is going to be 55. And then finally, the last one will be 50. Okay? So using congruent triangles, you use this to match. You're going to, if you're given triangle IJK is congruent to triangle UWV, and you're told to solve, you match up the corresponding parts. What does the UV, that's what we need to figure out, side length UV corresponds to in this triangle. Write the equation of congruence, and then you're going to solve for X. Okay, so UV in this triangle corresponds to which two sides? So UV is here. U is the first letter, and then V is the last letter. So look for the first letter and the last letter. That's going to be IK, right? UV is corresponding to side IK. So find my IK. IK is 50 meters or millimeters. That means I know that 2x plus 4 is equal to 50. And then from here, you just need to solve for x. By subtracting 4 from both sides, you get 2x is 46. Dividing both sides by 2 to get 23. Alright, so when am I ever going to use this triangle congruent stuff? Well, Napoleon, if you remember, he was a French military leader. The legend shows that he had his officers measure distance across the river using triangle congruence. So what he did was, the officer would look across the river and lower his cap until he could just see the opposite bank. Then he would, without changing his angle of his head, he would turn and notice where the same spot is on that side of the river. Okay, and maybe he would tell one of the soldiers to go stand there. Okay, and then he would measure that distance easily. He can measure this distance to where the soldier is standing very easily, and because this is going to be congruent triangles, he could deduce that the how wide the river was indeed, say, 100 feet or whatever. And how did this help him measure the distance across the river? He used side angle congruence, because he used the same angulation when he noticed the bank of the river as to this spot. And then his height is the same, his vertical height is the same for both triangles, and also this last angle is the same, because this is just the horizontal 90 degrees perpendicular. Okay, so he used angle, side, angle, congruous. Okay, so that's it for today. I'm sorry, that's not it for today. You are to finish the rest of the Desmos activities. And then when you are done for the day. And what the last thing you need to do is you need to write in entry the table of content in notebook and write today's date and using triangle congruence. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great weekend. Take care. Bye.